Hey everybody, I wanted to explain a little bit about ellipses to you today. So ellipses they're circles, right? Oh, sorry. They are circles that are being acted upon by the rules of perspective. So if we have a circle that we are looking at that's flat, that's right at our eye level, it just looks like a line, right? But as we move that circle up away from our eye level, we see more and more and more of it. And as we move it down, as it moves down away from our eye level, we see more and more of the top of it, right? So everything, the look and shape of that all depends on where it is in relationship to our eye level. Or if it moves, if it turns in space in different ways, again, it's not a circle anymore, but it turns into an ellipse. And so whether that is in relationship to an eye level, a horizontal line, or in relationship to a line, oh, this is so weird, a line of sight that's lined right up with our eyes vertically, as it goes away this way, and as it goes away from that line of sight this way, we see more and more of the sides of it, right? So a worksheet that I sometimes give students and work with is something like this as well, where you have the eye level, EL, eye level, right there, and as the circle, as it gets closer to the eye level, it gets skinnier, and as it gets farther away, it gets rounder. So if you were to fill in what that shape would be, the missing shape would be, what would it look like? As you come, this way, it's going to stay about the same width this way, but it would be just a little bit wider than this and not quite as wide as this, right? So that would be your shape right there. Always keeping in mind that the closer it gets to the eye level, the skinnier and more squished it gets, because that's the pitch of that is changing. So that's if you're working with the eye level, or if you're working with a line of sight vertically, if that is going away vertically this way or this way, right? So let's take a look then at how we can draw ellipses in a believable way. First of all, I want to start with kind of what we don't want to see, okay? So one mistake that a lot of artists make as they're first starting out is they tend to make ellipses, like say if you're looking at a can of soup and you want to draw the top of the can of soup, they'll draw an arc like this and an arc like this, and then the sides of the can coming down like this, and then a flat bottom on it. No, no, no. See how that looks like a football? We don't want any footballs. Nothing against football, American football, but we don't want these pointed ends, okay? The ends, we're working with a circle that's flat, and those ends need to be rounded out. And so it would be, the shape would be more like this, where you've got rounded ends, the vertical sides, and then if you were to see through that can, you would see that the bottom is also made from an ellipse, and it would be more rounded. The rate of pitch of that one would be more than this one. So this bottom edge would actually be more rounded than this. If we think back to the progression like this, if you were to make a can of soup out of this right here, see how the top is thinner than the bottom, right? So that's what we need to keep in mind as we're making ellipses. And so the widest part of the ellipse here, and then so a division going horizontally and a division going vertically can help us to divide that up into smaller sections. We call these divisions axes. This one right here, the shorter one, is the minor axis. The longer one is the major axis, okay? So if we draw an ellipse, we can use these as tools to help us. So I could start with a horizontal line. And here I'm going to, again, use my handy dandy triangle that I love so much, lining up the edge of it with this machined edge of my paper to give me a horizontal that is perpendicular to the edge of my paper. That horizontal line can be my major axis, and then I can come in and get a minor axis. If I line up the edge of my, I'm going to peek in here, it's really far away from my face, get a minor axis that is at 90 degrees to that major axis coming this way, and then it will extend up and away. That light's really kind of bad. Up and away there. Now, another characteristic of these major and minor axes is, of course, that this needs to be, these angles here all need to be 90 degrees. So that's what your triangle and how we did that just then, that's what that's for. But then also this side of the minor, of the major, and this side of the major need to be equal to each other. This side of the minor and this side of the minor need to be equal to each other as well. So then I can take my ruler to help me. And here I can see that I've got about 1.25 inches on this side. So if I go 1.25 inches, hey, that was pretty close. Not bad. Years of training, ladies and gentlemen. On either side there. And then if we go up from the middle of the minor, let's just go 1/2 inch there and 1/2 inch there. Okay. So equal on either side of center. So now let's draw our ellipse based on that. Now it's, again, it's not just a matter of drawing an arc like this and an arc like this, an arc here and an arc here. That's going to give you these pointy ends that we don't want. We also don't want, you know, diamond looking things. We also don't want, like, relying too much on the context of a square where you just kind of round the corners out. So it's more like that. We don't want that either. So what I do is I start by making just a very light rounded end there, starting with the ends of the major. Again, this is major and this is minor. And then up at the top here, starting with a very light rounded end there. And then I can go back and kind of connect those to get a smoother finish and a smoother end. I'm also looking at getting each quadrant to be symmetrical or the same, like a mirror image on either side of center, this way and this way. And as I look at that, I'm seated kind of far away from this, just to keep this within the frame. And it looks like I might have gotten, this is maybe a larger 1/2 inch than this right here. So I'm gonna maybe pull this down a little bit because that's not looking quite right. So that gives me a very, very light start. And then I can go back, and with a very sharp pencil, I can refine that line and that edge. To make a symmetrical form. And I'm using a kind of a dark, I just want to remeasure that, a kind of dark pencil. Well, a kind of dark pencil, a 4B, so just so you can see the lines. But I would usually use a 2B or an HB, somewhere in there. But this is more the shape that we're looking for, okay? So what I'd like you to do is practice this method. I want you to draw 12 ellipses on one sheet of your paper. 12 ellipses on one sheet, and have these be all different sizes. Okay, you can have some that are like this, you can have some that are skinny, you can have some that are maybe closer to a true circle, but just try all different configurations, all different sizes, and just arrange them around your paper. Okay, so that's one thing I want you to do. And in the next video, I'll show you, we'll go into cylinders, and you can do that on your next sheet.